Hey listeners, it's Paul Andriola here. Why not join our community at Small Cap Discoveries, where we offer our members direct access to some of the best microcap investment opportunities available. Our members are getting access to premium microcap financings, research reports, and direct access to management. Sign up today at www.smallcapdiscoveries.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Small Cap Discoveries conference call. Today on our call, we have Alvaro Pombo, the CEO of Prontoforms, to give us an overview on the company. Prontoforms trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol PFM and in the US under PPRRF. The company is trading at $1.15 with roughly 128 million shares outstanding, or about $147 million market cap. I'd now like to hand it over to Paul Andriola.
Trevor, thank you so much. Great to have Alvaro with us today. Alvaro with Prontoforms. Prontoforms is a story that I sort of watched from a distance, and now we finally get an opportunity to speak. So I want to welcome you here today, Alvaro, and I understand you have a presentation for us, so I'm just going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Trevor. This is a great opportunity. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'm going to check that this thing is working and that everybody can see it. Are we okay? Yes? Okay. So, yes, I'm the founder and CEO of Prontoforms, so everything is my fault, like at home, I would say. So anyway, let me walk you through the story of the company. You guys have seen these forward-looking statements, but this is where the story starts. We've been in business for quite a while. I mean, before 2008, we didn't have devices and nobody even understood what that meant. It took us a while until devices. And why do I say that? Is that in 2010 is when the iPad arrived to the world. And right after that, you can track the revenue, and the revenue continued to grow in a very good way. We originally started to sell through, operators, mobile operators, AT&T primarily, because they were selling all the iPads that you can imagine in the world. So that gave us a very fast and good entry into the market. But very quickly, we understood that my background was a CIO, and I used to work for New Rich Networks, but as well for Exxon. And I had my ear tuned to large enterprises and very large field automation. That's been my specialty and my life. So we started to listening to these companies with particular attention. And really the company has been evolving the market around those large enterprises, even though we serve the small, medium businesses, and the commercial is actually an interesting one. And I'll walk you through in a second what do we do for them that is really exciting. I'm going to build this slide very quickly in one shot. So what's going on in the market is that people, okay, there is a massive change in demographics in the field. Younger people, you need to automate a lot of things in the field, and there are not enough Java developers to do it. So you have to deliver technology that is easy to adapt and easy to adopt, and ultimately create that automation in the field. What's unique about that automation in the field is that, number one, the resource environment that it develops under. Number two, very high margins for organizations. I mean, as you can imagine, everybody has figured out that building an elevator delivers about 5 to 10 points of margin, but servicing it is in the 30s to 40s. And people have realized that. Not only that, the customer expectations have radically changed. Technology wasn't there. So really the automation of the field is something that has come to life recently. COVID has accelerated this transformation, no question about it. Now more procedures to enter places. You have to take care of these people. It is very, very fortunate, and I think there has been a secular change in the economy towards this. So what do we do at the end of the day? We help people building field and automating workflows in the field in an easy way. That's the key part of the story, and I'll describe that in more detail. Gartner calls this an LCAP. It stands by low code application platforms. really, I cannot imagine anybody doing automation in the field if it wasn't the LCAP. Okay, and some people still don't do it that way, which is, again, I describe the circumstances. You need something to be simple. I saw that very early in my career when I was working for Exxon. What you have in your hands is you're trying to automate that gal or gal or guy with the frontline worker in the middle. If you start thinking about what are they like, they have two things in mind. Staying safe, because climbing a pole is not an easy task, okay? And also be effective in doing their task. So this is an iterative process of trying to be safe and effective, delivering ultimately health and safety, training and compliance, collaboration, workflow enablement, as well as analysis of where these people have been, what's going on. So we have customers that basically do a lot of these things, and many of these examples, I'll share a few with you. So Pacific Gas and Electric, large utility, Philips, I have many to share. That's the good news about the company. And let's take an example of Philips. I mean, Philips goes today, when someone goes and fix an MRI in a hospital, it's not that easy, okay? These are complex machines, and we specialized on complex equipment ultimately. And you have a whole different set of protocols that you have to follow. You have to abide by certain compliance rules. It is complex. Now, how many of those workflows you think they have? I mean, we have people like Otis Elevators and other big companies. They're in the hundreds, okay? Why do you get so quickly into hundreds? I mean, number one, 100 of workflows, or 120, 150, then you multiply that by, you name how many countries you want to go into, okay? In the tens, if not 100. And then you multiply that by different languages, and very quickly the problem gets quite steep and quite complex. And that's why, that's our focus. Field automation in an easy way for large enterprises. So what's the model behind it? SaaS. We started SaaS since day one. I'm a CIO that learned not to put money into IT, okay? Into IT in terms of big equipment, big complicated things. So I knew what was up to, and I knew what these people in the field wanted. And we stay on it, and the market definitely has come to a great timing for us. So it's a SaaS model, okay? It was SaaS since day one. We used to call it subscription model anyway. High growth subscription, operating leverage with very strong gross margins, as you will see, in the high 80s, 90, 91%, and self-sustaining. We believe we have never been a company that people have given $1 zillion, go build it. We've been not totally bootstrapped, we've raised some money, but we maintain our operation very close to cash break-even. We maintain a healthy amount of cash. I believe that these businesses don't happen overnight. And as you build it, you learn more about it, obviously. And that's been our model. So we grow. I'll talk about the growth in a second right here. So 2020 was a weird year, okay? We have customers like Air Canada and Air Transat. So go figure, what are you gonna be with those? I mean, people suffered, okay? In COVID, make no mistakes, there were some industries that definitely suffered, and we suffered with that, but there were others that were very gracious and very, I mean, good growth for us. So 2020 was 18% year-over-year growth, and we come from a place of 20s, okay, and high 20s. We even got to the low 30s, and we're seeing it coming back, no question about it. The market is here, the secular changes in the economy that benefit us, and every time I see discussions in the US about having to create new infrastructure, our verticals are utilities, oil and gas and natural resources, medical equipment manufacturers, and heavy equipment. And all of those are going through monstrous amount of evolution, growth, and investment, and definitely growing in a great way. So when I look at enterprise sales, and when we look at enterprise, we look at it primarily as companies with more than 2,500 employees, okay? That's the definition of enterprise. Now we serve some with tens of thousands of people, with a few tens, okay, of thousands of subscribers on it. And this has been the profile of growth, more and more enterprise. As I said at the beginning, we started with small, medium businesses because the AT&Ts got us into that market. Then we specialized more into these enterprises, and that's where the majority of the growth come from. But again, changing a base is something that doesn't happen overnight. This is throughout many quarters and many years in the making. So what are the units economics? A lot of you are specialists in investment in SaaS. I always said that I would never put $1 in a SaaS company that doesn't show me at least these numbers. It wasn't fashionable when I said that. Nowadays, it's a requirement, thank God. But I mean, when you look at our cohorts, they continue to expand. We have a great net retention rates, primarily, obviously, on those very large enterprises. I mean, on the ones that have deployed more than $100,000 of ARR, it's 163%. So people like it, people love it, and they adopt it and grow it well. If I go, and how many of those we have, I mean, 147 is the count on this public document, keeps on going up. And 23 of those keep on evolving at a good pace. So let me describe to you what the evolution looks like. And the evolution with a typical customer, this is one of our elevator companies. They start with a small, either proof of concept or a small use, and this is ARR, okay? So in this particular case, we started in North America with a set of use cases that they needed to implement. Soon after that, there was an accident in Hong Kong and required the deployment of our product. So we ended up in Asia very quickly. That continued. Then North America decided to adopt it across multiple use cases throughout all North America. That continued with other expansions in Asia. Then that continued to more North America. And then it continues, the good news, I'm using that word and I love it. And it continued to further North American expansions. Today in this company, we have, don't quote me, but it's about 12,000 users, if not 13,000, using the product. Now negotiating, obviously, MSAs and different types of arrangements with these large monsters, which is beautiful. So the next step of the story is we try to map here, how fast do people, how long does it take them to get to, we look at $100,000 of ARR as a milestone, okay? That's a substantial amount of people using the product. And you can see it. I mean, what it basically tells you is that it's getting shorter and people are starting to consume faster, okay? Which is a great news. So operating leverage, 90% plus margin, and the way we've been allocating it, you can see it clearly, is the majority of it goes into growth, okay? Growth of what? Sales and marketing. We're religious at some of the metrics and some of the, not some, I mean metrics. This is it's a business that is driven with many emotions. I mean, you sell, you expand, you customer success, you support, you do many things. And very, very driven by numbers. Our product is a very stable product. In 2011, by the way, we re-engineered the entire product. There is not a single line of code after 2012, before 2012, that exists in the system. And what that gave us was an incredible ability to be agile and to be fast and to have this a very modern R&D framework. And that has kept the spend in a very good place. This is G&A that basically tells you that we're very frugal in many ways and we keep on reducing these and we keep the gas pedal on the expansion side of our go-to-market, which is primarily direct nowadays with a few partners. This is a profitability profile. I'll leave it up there. I think you guys read numbers much better than me with less accent. So I think you will enjoy a couple of seconds there on that slide, but happy to answer any questions at the end or after the presentation. Just watching here my time. The team has a terrible CEO. That's a joke for those on the line. I think we have a great team, actually. We have a great culture in the company. We have some people very down to earth. Nobody's trying to do this to make any splash on any newspaper or anything like that. We have our egos very well checked. We're here to do one thing, build shareholder value, build a company that lasts and that stays in power. And I mean, as we evolve these things, there is no religious approach to it either. I mean, this is an ecosystem like any other ecosystem in technology with some big players, and those big players are missing what we have. So when they're ready to look into other creative ways to grow their pieces, we're ready to play ball. We're ready to ultimately create shareholder value. That's we're here not for any other reason. We're mature. We've understood what life of running these kind of companies is all about. And I think it's a solid team that is delivering the goods here. The next part of it is a good board. It's probably bigger board, I mean, more mature board than the company was for many years. I think nowadays we have very strong governance, have some very good people in it. Terry Matthews, Phil Deck, some of you might know him. He's, Toronto, small cap investor, very knowledgeable, former CEO of a couple of high-tech companies. Ed Ogonic as well, former CEO of a couple of high-tech companies. John Shanks. New addition to the team, Scott Berg. Scott was the former CEO of ServiceMax. ServiceMax is one of these key partners with Salesforce.com that are, I mean, the top of the Magic Quadrant in field service automation. He joined our board. Very good guys. And anyway, you guys can read through this also on the website. So the highlights, I believe we have a leading product in a growing mobile enterprise market with predictable and growing recurring revenue. We've done a strong expansion in enterprise customers with clear cash flow annuity building up, a high customer retention rate, strong operating leverage, and with a very good technology and go-to-market in a large market size. No question in my mind that the opportunity is quite broad here. I'll leave this for later. I'll leave it there so in the recording you guys have time to look at it. The good news is from a cash perspective, we're in a very good position as well. Don't need to go to markets and get the hat out or any of those things. And I'll finish here with this summary sheet, and that's it, Paul and Trevor.
Perfect. Alvaro, thank you. I'm going to dive right in, and the biggest question I always try to ask right up front is, give us a better sense of what you think the addressable market is for you guys. Obviously, clearly it's large, but really for your segment, put some dollars to it.
So look, I'm a simple math kind of guy to answer those questions. This is how I look at it. We hired Gartner to assess the size of the market. It came into the 6 to 7 billion. And I said, okay, so who owns the other 5 point whatever billion? Because I don't own it yet, okay? So they also came with a clarity that there was 13 different verticals that we can address. And I said, look, the best thing about Prontoforms is that the opportunity is huge, but the worst thing about Prontoforms is that the opportunity is huge. So we focus on those 4. And I'm going to leave you with the following numbers, which is the way I see the market. Any of these companies, okay, take an Otis Elevator, any of these guys are low size is 30,000 people, high size is in the 60 to 90,000 people, okay? Out of them, about, it depends, but it's about 1/4 of them are in the field, okay? And out of that 1/4 of the company, I believe that almost half, and we've proven in some cases that it could be bigger than that, almost half of the employees can use Prontoforms, okay? So my task right now is not about landing a lot of new customers, and we have a lot of them already. It's 148 very large enterprises where we can monetize and take the growth of the revenue. As we replicate what I showed you, we've done 23 times. Doing that at scale, we don't even have to go a lot wandering around. In the meantime, we keep on adding beautiful logos, and you can see some of the announcements and everything. But so the market size is, I'll put it in the billions. Our piece of it, hundreds of millions without any question.
And give me a sense of how do you go and knock on the door of an Otis or one of these large companies and say, hey, start using our product?
It's a great question. I think it's the multi-million-dollar question. So here's how you go at it. Field service people are very independent, okay? And they usually are in the edge of the organization. So this is a line of business manager sale, okay? So you aim to that line of business manager. They usually have an analyst kind of person next to them, okay? And you're still in the field. And these analysts, we call them citizen developers. And our product basically serves them to get their automation because they have pains that they have to solve quickly. They need to, oh my God, they changed the protocol for this. How are we going to be able to do that? So those are the guys we address, and we address them with a small sales, quickly implementable, and from then we expand, as I described before. And then you get into IT, and the good news is we understand very well what IT is like. The product is SOC 2 compliant, all sorts of security layers. You wouldn't believe what you go through to be into these kind of companies. And IT loves it because they cannot serve the field people well because they have not been resourced for that. So it's definitely a line of business sale, and it's a story of not a monstrous digital transformation. It's about, I help you with your pain right now, but as people start realizing it, this becomes a part of a bigger stack puzzle in technology, and it's a very easy to grow, maintain, and pay for piece. Okay, it's very cost effective. So that way we keep on. I've seen many technology plays in my life. Simplicity has always won, and I think we have one in our hands.
Now, I saw in the past that you were working closely. I think it was AT&T. Give me a sense of how do you direct sell geographically? Like, do you have offices across the world?
So that was in the past. We left that because AT&T is a media company right now. In fact, I mean, part of as we announced the last quarter numbers, we retired all the AT&T stuff, which has some, between us, terrible customers as well in it. So we clean all that stuff out, okay? Because AT&T wasn't selling a solution, they were selling a tablet, okay? However, how do you go geographically at working with these? Got some great partnerships with ServiceMax, with Salesforce, okay? Early stages with Microsoft. And as we go to market with them, we have many of these accounts come because we complement what they do very well. So they bring us to deliver a complete solution to those customers. So we have about, I mean, the product is being used right now as we speak in more than 80 countries without a single office in them, even though we're starting to, I mean, we put someone in the UK recently. We're trying to expand to have more geographical presence, but the majority of the sales are done from here, from Ottawa, from Canada. We have a lot of US people as well, a lot of US employees. When I say here, US and Canada.
Gotcha. And obviously you're dealing with large companies that have international reach everywhere. So I imagine you're working in a lot of different countries through that. Perfect.
Yeah.
Give me a sense of really who are your competitors? Who really drives down, and who do you see on a daily basis?
Yeah. So look, we've been graduating from different places, and I'll describe to you the graduation ceremonies that we've had. We started with forms. When you type forms online, you're going to get a lot of them. I mean, Go Canvas, there was Fast Field Forms, etc. They focus on the first market that we ended up with. That wasn't the vision of the company, okay? The vision was always to be into the enterprise stuff. But in the early stages, they stay there. They stay in the SMB, okay? And the SMB is a very different problem. They have 3 forms, and there are 3 people in the company, okay, or 5, and that's it, okay? So to those guys, we have a much more sophisticated product, and we win in a lot of the cases, I mean, against them in the enterprise. Then you enter into another group, which is this LCAP, people that build applications for companies in an easy way. Appian, OutSystems, Mendix, some of those guys, which we were in the quadrant with them or we are in the quadrant with them in Gartner, but we specialized in the field. Because the problem that building an application for the field with any of these tools, including Power Apps actually from Microsoft, it is a very different story. It's a very different story. I mean, you put 2,000 records for a guy in PG&E to be in front of a gas meter. They required about 2,000 data points. And go from there to the next house and try to have that information available with different situations of network connectivity. It's a very different thing. So theoretically, you can do it, but our customers basically have all these other tools. And they say, look, I cannot do it with that, so I'm going with you. And then when you have the big sales forces, those are ecosystems. They're not going after you. I mean, you complement the entire ecosystem story. Mm-hmm. And we specialized in our part of the story, which I believe long-term is a big part of the story.
Mm-hmm. So give me a sense of the contracts you enter with these organizations. Maybe two-part question here. How long are these contracts? Like, how long do you have a client? And then you did touch on churn, but give me a sense of how do you lose a client?
Yeah, good question. Okay, so here, number one, we come from a world when the AT&Ts of the world were monthly. So we learn, I mean, when you have a monthly contract, you learn what churn is all about very quickly. Mm-hmm. And you really have to have a very reliable and very good product. From then we graduated into multi-year contracts, which is the majority of our contracts right now. They vary from 1 to 3 years, more or less, mm-hmm. Okay? And the good news about this thing is that you start with a use case and the product itself. There is a lot of product-led growth, okay? Mm-hmm. People discover that they can do something else and they continue. So there is a renewal cycle, there is our customer success and all those different pieces in place to support what? The citizen developer to become knowledgeable about our product, okay? Because they more, I'm gonna go up here, they more than anybody else knows how to apply our product into their use cases, okay? Mm-hmm. We help them, we offer them different type of help. So when you get to the churn are 3 flavors of it. The small, medium businesses, they churn a lot. They come quickly and they churn a lot. That's not our business. I mean, we have good rates on it, but we don't live off that, okay? But you cannot stop them from coming on the internet, even though we put, hey, the minimum that we sell is 5 users, stuff like that. But there is always a little run right there. That's not the business. Commercials and enterprise is where the business is, and commercial and enterprise, this is a different way to answer the churn question, is these net retention rates, okay? So churn is getting better with less of that was a reason to finish the AT&T stuff as well, because there was a lot of that SMB world, month to month, we got rid of all of it, okay? And the churn profile has radically increased. So very competitive. We don't report churn number per se. I'm sharing with you a more meaningful one in our eyes, not because I don't want to answer the question, but that's the same answer is there.
Gotcha. And then give us a sense of how do we measure, like, is there a value per seat, value per client, value per license? How do we measure sort of the metrics?
Very good question as well. So we look at when we sell to, there are 3 tiers of the product. You can see them online, but it's all, I mean, it's roughly 20, 30, 45, okay? Put it like that, or a little bit more in the enterprise. Enterprise usually buys, when you get into the customers that I'm referring to, you're talking thousands of users, okay? So our ARPU, all consolidated, is around $14, and it actually keeps on going up, which is a great news. And we also have a few customers, you can imagine, in these kind of situations. There are people that don't use the product all the time, okay? Like we have right now someone who's deploying throughout energy audits, and they have tens of thousands, I think it's 20 something or 30,000 subscribers. And they pay primarily, we set up more of a usage fee, okay? I suppose that's per user. I mean, it's managing 30,000 user IDs is something for them as well. So we have a few of those where the deployments go into places where they don't even know how many people are using it. So in those cases, it's more like a transaction fee with minimums, and it keeps on going chunks that they buy, multi-year. But it's because of the logistics of managing user IDs that don't even exist sometimes. And these people are using contractors and things like that.
Yeah. Now, you touched on this a little bit. I call it sort of land and expand. So when you get into a client, you no doubt are bringing other services and products, but give me a sense of any new initiatives or any new products that you bring to the client, or where it's sort of the trend that it's going.
Yeah, look, and that's as we look into expanding the company in the future, what we've learned, I mean, we learned the first thing was charge more, okay? Price increases, we do them, and that's good, and they work, okay? Number two, we created the tiers, okay? So we basically, the majority of the features, like, I mean, we've made a public announcement recently about something that is called Teamworks. So Teamworks is you have a squad. I mean, let's imagine that someone is going to install, let's use the same MRI example. That's not one person, okay? That's a team of people that go to these installations. So they need to pass, hey, I finished this, you pass this, or three of them are working on the same things. So those are the kind of features that are at the enterprise tier. And the enterprise tier, we track it very, very, very weekly, daily almost, which is how many people move to the enterprise tier. So we learned that we not only can expand geographically, expand in use cases, but you can expand the total envelope that you're selling them, okay? So that's more like an upsell. And then now the imagination starts to get going, which is as we solidify our position in the market, then it starts to make a lot of sense. And I'll have this wheel here in a second for you. But what this wheel says, there is a lot of other products that we can start thinking about bringing into our wheel hub, okay? And I mean, do we build everything? Do we acquire someone? Do we start looking into ways? These are things that the company starts to learn how to do. We're not have any acquisition in mind tomorrow. We're not doing that, but we're definitely looking for next year. Hey, now that we have this position, what else we can start adding to it? And some of it we develop it, some of it we OEM it, okay? And we'll see what the cards will say if we start acquiring some of those.
Okay, so you took away my other question here, is just that. So there are M&A opportunities. So you would look more towards a technology addition, or the other thing M&A usually involves is like relationships. Are you trying to buy relationships, or are you looking to add and tuck in technologies?
On the pragmatic side of things, our cost of acquisition is very decent, okay? So I don't necessarily think that we should be buying customers right now. Pay, I don't know, whatever times revenue you're going to pay, but you can acquire them at a fraction of them right now. So let's keep on executing. This is our thinking. We'll keep on executing on acquiring, but mainly on expanding. I mean, what we currently have, which is a very good use of money and of energy and everything. And then talking technologies. Now, might be lucky enough at some point to get some talking technologies that come with an alternative view of the market, whether it's geographical, okay? This is a global marketplace, no question about it. So there are pieces that we've seen that, hey, might be able to acquire someone at a reasonable price that can help us obviously on the product side of things, but you might get a little base present somewhere. When I say little, there is a lot of small companies that are affordable, okay, that can give you, I don't know, 50 people in Europe. That will help a lot, okay. So, but we're not there yet. We will get there. You can see we're thinking about it, but we're not there yet. Just to manage expectations of everybody on the call.
Sure, fair enough. Okay, so you did touch on it a little bit in your presentation, but obviously COVID is a big issue. It's impacted a lot of your customers and how they operate. But give us a sense, first off, how you operate under COVID, and then secondly, what's changed as far as your opportunities, for the good or the bad, based on what's happening with COVID?
Yeah, so look, the COVID a year ago, and I don't want to repeat what everybody has lived, okay? But a year ago was a scary moment, no question about it. So we I mean, SOC 2 compliance put us through things like disaster recoveries and everything. So we went online very quickly, no problem, no drama. The company operates all, we're about 170 people, okay? We're recruiting people, we keep on adding, and our geographical footprint has radically evolved. We used to be very centered in Ottawa, strong culture. So we used to have a lot of people close to the hub, put it like that. That has radically changed. So I'll share a few things with you. I mean, like every single team has a very clear cadence, but as a company, I mean, I hold an old staff weekly where everybody's on the same page, a lot more demands on being very specific about the strategy for the year. So we have a very tight model for execution of the strategy and the goalposts. A lot more use of numbers. Okay, we were very data driven, but not everybody in the company was connected to that data. So running a lot of these old staffs and everything very, very tight to the numbers. So it has, I mean, in many ways, it has matured the company in an incredible way, and it has released some of these attachments to certain things. And our customers, to talk about them, I mean, there are a few that definitely suffered. The majority of them we saw throughout the year. In 2020, we saw a lot of expansions as opposed to new, okay? That has changed. The world has changed. The majority of the main market is the US. I can tell you that the new has radically changed. Now people are buying, new are buying, expansions continue to grow. And I think the mindsets of board members, I'm talking large companies that do these things, there is a complete conviction. People know what a frontline worker is today. A year ago, I would have said that, and some people may have said, how do you spell that? Okay. Yeah. So first line worker, frontline worker, we all know what it is. Yeah. We all know that they matter a lot, and boards know that. So more money, and we're seeing a lot of projects, a lot of automation taking place.
Yeah, no, clearly I would have thought that as well, because you know, the advent of having technology in the hands of frontline workers actually, it probably, you know, it helps with COVID protocol. So I can see that being beneficial for you guys. At this point, I want to remind everybody that's listening, if you've got any questions you'd like me to ask Alvaro, please use the chat function on the side there, and I'll do my best to ask the question. Why don't we talk a little bit about the stock and some of the things there. You obviously, you're founder of the company, you've been with it a long time. Give me a sense of what's the insider ownership position in the stock.
Yeah, I mean, look, the stock works like this. Management and myself, we own about 12%, give and take, 14% in that range. Then there are two big investors. I don't know their exact position right now, but Terry Matthews has a good chunk, and Eduardo Pacheco, which is a gentleman from Colombia that I know from many years ago. He sold his bank to Scotia and his insurance company to AXA. He's an investor, almost at the same size as Terry. From then on, we are fortunate to have some very good funds that have taken positions. They hold a lot, okay? There is not a lot of trade, but it's not for discontent or because of people are trying to flip this tomorrow. We're on a mission. We have some very committed investors. We keep a very strong and open relationship with them. We're very transparent. I mean, we follow obviously all the rules, but very transparent in our relationship with investors. And we keep the profile of the company. We lose a little bit of money, and we lose a little bit of money deliberately, okay? It's not that, I mean, you saw it in COVID, we got some stuff, and in 2 seconds, we're breaking even, but we want to accelerate growth. So our profile of growth is we can stay on the 30s, low 30s or high 20s, or even a little bit more if we are blessed by the gods. Then you have a very good model with 91% margins that we can translate that into more growth. Now, you can hear on the tone, we're not the mega aggressive guys that are going to take and put $150 million into it and try to make $5 billion. I don't know, just up to you guys to judge if that's we're not that, I'll tell you. Again, I'm not going to pretend to be that. So we're steady going, and I think we're going to get to the same numbers in a different way.
Yeah. No, and I noticed in one of your slides, I think you said 50% of your I guess your revenues go right back into sales and marketing. So obviously you're investing in that long-term value of that customer, and driving growth that way. If you were to just shut down your marketing, you're extremely profitable, right?
Second.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm going to ask about Terry Matthews. How do you get a legendary tech investor like Terry to be a shareholder of your company?
Okay, I'm going to tell you two stories. I used to work for him at Newbridge. I was his CIO.
Right, yeah.
And I remember Y2K disaster was blooming and everything. Right. Anyway, you guys, any investors in Newbridge would have remembered that those days. Right before Y2K, I became the CIO, helped the company through a massive transformation of things. And we ended up with Alcatel, okay? So then I ended up with a big job in Paris, and I said, no, I'm going to work for Palm in California, because I had this in my mind, okay? What do you see? I'm obsessed with many things in my life. Anyway, so I ended up in California, and then Terry called me one day and he says, why don't you put some money in Mitel? I'm buying Mitel back. And I said, Terry, let's do the following. I'm gonna put, what's the minimum I can put? And he said, $20,000. I said, okay, I'm gonna put $20,000 in Mitel, but proportionally to my net worth, you're going to put the same in Prontoforms. I'm not going, he wanted me to be a CIO at Mitel, and say, I'm not going back to Mitel. I'm starting this puppy. So that's how he started, okay? That's the untold story. And then after that, we went through a phase of VCs and difficult circumstances. And one day, he called me, he was an investor, and he kept in touch and everything. And he called me and he says, what do we do with it? Do we kill it? And I said, no, Terry, someone's gonna make $1 billion of it. Let's stay on it. I mean, what's the problem? 2008 was a very difficult time. We were about to kill it, okay? And the market wasn't there for mobile devices. I'll tell you, Palm, and you don't even know how to spell it these days. They were terrible devices. And only until the iPad arrived, iPhone in 2007 and iPad in 2010, is that the thing starts. So great, he stayed, and he's been a great supporter, and that's how we ended up with Terry on the line.
That's a fantastic story. Love that. Brokerage coverage. Do you have any research coverage at all in the company right now?
Yeah, PI. David Kwan, but David is no longer with them, but PI and oh my God, Beacon, Gabriel Leon. Gabe is the guy. Yeah,
gotcha. And you mentioned you're sitting, I think, about $5.5 million in cash. It looks like that's been a steady number for quite a while. Do you or going up a little bit? That's good.
Yeah.
So you don't really foresee a need for any financing now, unless some crazy acquisition or something showed up.
Yeah, we have what we reported last quarter was 7.7 million US in the bank, and yeah, we don't foresee anything immediate. I mean, it's not no need for it right now. We're gonna keep executing, and there are many metrics that we keep a close eye on it, and we just wanted this COVID thing to settle down. Now it's settling down. We'll see if it is how sustainable. We're all in the world waiting for that sustainability of the COVID settling down. As we settle down, we'll probably take a more aggressive stance, Paul. But let's wait. I mean, it's no point right now, and we don't need to do anything immediately.
Yeah, gotcha. You've been at it for a while, but and you're seeing continued success. But what keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night? I'll tell you one thing that I'm obsessed with is sales productivity. Okay, because when you put 50% of your money back into it every single day, I know what's stored in the company, and you've proven the company with those margins and that everything. And I think what we have in there with the people we have, you can throw a lot of money on it and comes on the other end. Okay, there is no question about that. But I'm optimizing the sales productivity. We made a change on the CRO. Okay, at the beginning of the year, public announcement as well. For that reason, he was a good guy and everything, but I'm obsessed in getting the numbers to a degree of productivity on sales that they're not bad at all right now, but I convinced that they can be better, and we're executing on that. So that's my sole focus right now.
Perfect.
Again, there is no trouble. There is no problem in there. I just want to get, you know what the next level look like? You've seen many. I haven't been in that level, and I can see and I can feel that we will. So I'm focusing getting there.
Yeah. And you sort of touched on it. Your exit strategy. What do you think? What do you think happens to the company in 5 to 10 years, or do you have a defined idea of what your exit's going to look like?
So look, the defined idea is seriously, I believe in those things. Shareholder value prevails, okay? And basically what it means is that, look, I'm more aligned with every single shareholder than anybody could imagine. I put many years of my life in this, and this is I wanna get the best out of it. And what does that translate into? Is these markets, you cannot control them. Okay, so they're big and there are many dynamics on it. And if someone comes tomorrow to give us the right money, I mean, for the little money, you've got many already. Okay, it doesn't make any sense. But for the right money, for sure. I mean, this you cannot control a big market like this overnight. But the market has to move to tell you that is the right time. It's not about going and selling it tomorrow. So I believe on that premise. And however, there's another element here, which is that wheel that I told you, that I show you. I do believe that wheel might become a wheel. Okay. And we're aiming to be a holder of a good part of it, not a good position in that wheel. And that wheel can be a big wheel. And so we keep on executing there. You have to have a very clear vision as well in these things. So when people want to come and buy you, I mean, you can tell them, hey, I can go this way, or put enough so I can look your way.
Yeah, no, fair enough. As investors, do you think there's is there something that the average investor doesn't know about your business, or is misunderstood about the business?
I think I'll tell you one thing that I believe people don't see how long does it take to make a technology company. Okay, it's the same as the fake news or whatever. Everybody thinks that the overnight success exists in technology. Of course they do. Okay, and they happen with a very different framework, with very different investment profiles, and they happen south of here. Okay, so they're real. They're real. I'm not saying that those are not the ones, but when people look with that lens at these kind of companies, you miss them. Okay, and you miss what? Reality. This is reality. It's a company growing steadily. It's a company making progress. Good technology, good management, good everything. It will pay off. Okay, it will pay off at some point because you're doing all the right pieces. Undervalue for sure is undervalue, and that's part of also in Canada. People don't get that, but we get a lot of American investors that get it, and they see it, and they stay on it.
And do you ever think of moving to NASDAQ or US listing?
I ask David Crouch, my CFO, that question all the time, and he says no. Look, you have to have a little bit, and that's where I keep on thinking about what the next level is. Okay, the next level is you have that sales productivity. You put a little bit of more money. We have it in the bank. Okay, deploy it faster. Then you have a little bit, and then you can go and claim your spot in a bigger market.
Fair enough. Okay, last couple questions here, but again, as investors, what metrics or what should an investor really focus on to really understand how well you guys are executing?
Very good question. I mean, definitely monthly recurrent revenue. We report two things. Revenue, okay, revenue, the majority of it is 90-something% is recurrent, okay? So we don't have a lot of professional services, nor do we play with it, and it's not the objective whatsoever to make any money or big money on that. So watch the recurrent revenue if you're mapping that. We also report bookings, okay? Bookings is a net, so there is the gross and there is the churn. Churn profile is a lot more stable, but for instance, last quarter, we retired all this AT&T stuff, and that took a big hit on the churn, even though the gross was good, okay? Very good, but the churn takes a hit, and we report net. And the next piece to look at it, we're not those that are all the time putting press releases about we landed this, we landed that, we should get better at it. If you're going to take a position on it, spend some time with us. I mean, I speak to investors, the key, I mean, all the investors that want to set up a recurrent call, we set it up and we share where the position of the business is, but almost everything is public. And we're very transparent about it. It's not a lot of the other story, okay?
Perfect. We're about to wrap up here. So what I always like to do is give you guys an opportunity to sort of give a parting message or a key takeaway that you think all our listeners should be aware of. Oh, did you catch that, Alvaro?
No.
Oh, sorry. Just at this point, it'd be great if you just give a sort of a key takeaway or key message. Yeah.
You heard the dog, so that's why.
That's the beauty of this day and age, right?
Yeah, in terms of transparency, you got it all today, okay?
Fantastic.
Look, I mean, Paul, thank you for giving us the opportunity. I think the key takeaways is this is a market that did not exist, okay? This is a secular change in the economy. People that are trying to automate the field with white-collar tools, it does not work, okay? So I think this is what is emerging. If it is not investing in Prontoforms, my message is keep a close eye on this market. It's nascent. It's just here evolving. There is a long way to go here. When you look at all the investments that are going to happen in the US right now, what are they going to imply? They're going to imply removing infrastructure, creating new infrastructure, improving utilities. Every single one of those required a field person. And a field person, humans in the field are going to be relevant for many years to come. And this is the early stage of that automation. And I'll leave you with that. If it is us, terrific. If not, keep an eye on it.
It's fantastic, Alvaro. Listen, you've certainly given me a much better appreciation for the business and how you guys are operating and the success you've had. So I certainly want to thank you for doing that on a personal basis. If somebody wants more information, what's your website address or how should they get that information?
Prontoforms.com and directly to me. I mean, in the last slide, I left it there for a second, or to Dave Croucher or Babek, our IR guy. But Prontoforms.com and reach out. No worries about it.
Fantastic. Great. We've been speaking to CEO Alvaro Pombo of Prontoforms. Alvaro, I really appreciate the time, and we're looking forward to catching up at a future date.
Yeah, Paul, thanks for the opportunity. Trevor as well. It was fun.
Awesome. Thank you.
Stay safe, guys.
You too.
Ciao. Bye.